ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गतसंगस्य मुक्तस्य ज्ञानावस्थितचेतसः यज्ञायाचरतः कर्म समग्रं प्रविलीयते। So the last section of the last verse, karma samagram praviliyate. Karma disappears completely. How can it happen? Na bhuktam kshiyate karma kalpakoti shatairapi. We quoted this verse. Abhuktam karma, karma nakshiyate abhuktam. Karma will not disappear, will not get destroyed until its result is experienced. Kalpa koti shatairapi avashyameva bhoktavam krutam karma subhashubham. Whatever karma we have done, shubha or ashubha, avashyam bhoktavyam, the result has to be experienced. This is the law of karma, of cause and effect, nothing big, no big deal about it. Karma is the cause, karmaphala is the effect, and cause creates an effect. The rule is that the one who has performed the karma is the one who has to experience also the result of the karma. That's a simple law of karma, cause and effect. What's the simple law of karma? That number one, the effect is in keeping with the cause, so karma phala is in keeping with karma, number one. But importantly, number two is that one who is karta, one who has performed the karma becomes bhokta. He is the one who has to experience the outcome. So this is what explains the chain of birth and death. This is what explains the rebirth. We will call it reincarnation, rebirth. That I performed many actions during this lifetime. And many of them may remain unfulfilled, meaning that unexperienced. This karma is like a seed. And seed will give fruit depending on the kind of seed. And so also the karma may give rise to its result of phala depending on kind of karma. It's quite likely that I may have performed many actions which may yield outcome beyond my lifetime. In which case, I have to take another birth or a series of births to experience the result of the karma. This is the logic behind the rebirth. Logic behind past birth and logic behind the rebirth. What's the logic behind past birth? That the present is the product of past. That I was born, that I am born with this body, mind, sense complex. I am born with certain characteristics, samskaras. All of this is because of the past history. So I must have performed the karma which would have resulted into what I am right now and the situation I am facing right now or throughout the life. Karma or prarabdha decides the lifespan, decides the circumstances in a life. And the karma that I perform in this life will again therefore require me to take another birth to experience the result of the karma I perform now. So this is the logic behind the sequence of birth and death. So law of karma implies not only the cause and effect, not only that the one who performs action is the one who experiences the results, but also that I must take another embodiment to experience the result. That's how necessitated. So karma performed now will in all probability necessitate me to take another birth to experience the result of this karma. In that case, that is how karma creates a chain of birth and death and chain of sorrow. That's the samsara. So when this verse says karma samagram praviliyate, the karma completely comes to an end along with the karma phala. That is when it means that the wise person who supposedly performed the karma does not have to experience the outcome because there is no outcome. Therefore, it doesn't have to become bhokta because it's not a karta. And therefore, he does not have to take any further birth. Therefore, he is free from the cycle of birth and death. So that's how one way of describing moksha is freedom from the cycle of birth and death. Because birth means pain, meaning the cycle of pain. In words of Pujya Swamiji, it is from sorrow go round, because free from that. So this explains how moksha also equals to a freedom from next birth. Not that is the purpose of knowledge, or I am seeking knowledge so that I don't want to be born again. There are some people who say that. You may say that. But that is a consequence of knowledge. I want knowledge because I want to know the true nature of myself, because I know that I am already liberated. And then freedom from the cycle of birth and death is a consequence of that. It's not a goal that a person keeps in mind, I want to become free from birth and death, therefore that's not, well, maybe, but that's the consequence of knowledge. But that is explained in this verse, karma samagram praviliyate. That karma, which cannot get exhausted unless experienced, na bhuktam kshiyate karma. But this wise person performs karma which gets exhausted without experience because karma has not produced any effect at all. How can it be? How is it that karma is performed and does not create an effect? It is not for this person. This person becomes accountable for the outcome if he has performed action, but he is akarta and therefore, even if the karma produces the effect, it is not for him. It is for the world. You can say it is his offering. And that's how he doesn't be born again. That is one way of describing this. But the point is that karma becomes exhausted without having to experience the result because karma does not produce any effect at all. How is it so? Because it does not perform the karma. But he appears to be performing karma. So what is his vision? What is his perception while performing karma? So that is described. Kasmat punah karanat kriyamanam karma swakarya aramam akurvat samagram pravilite iti. Bhashyakara says. Kasmat punah karanat. Again, for what reason again? For what reason? Kriyamanam karma. The action that is being performed by this wise person, swakarya aramam akurvat, without producing the karya, without producing the effect, praviliyate, becomes exhausted without producing effect. For what? Because of what reason? If that's a question, then Uchyate, this verse 24 is an answer to this question, you can say. Tat kana uchchedar. Because there is uchcheda. The reason why the karma is destroyed, because there is no cause of that karma. The karma does not produce effect because there is no cause of karma. This karma is not a cause. A cause produces effect. This karma is not a cause. Why? Because it is not produced. It is not performed. How come it is not performed? Because of the vision of the wise person. So what's the vision of a wise person while performing karma is described in the verse number 24. Brahmarpanam brahmahavihi Brahmadnau brahmanahutam Brahmaiva tena gantavyam Brahma karma samadhina. Normally it's a Hari Om, normally you would say, because this is a verse that is recited before commencing the meals. Or Shuddhatmaji would chant this verse in the dining hall. The food is all served. This verse is chanted, and then we can begin our meal. That also will tell you why this verse is chanted. But what does the verse mean? This verse reveals the vision of the wise person. What's the vision? Vision is Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. What is this Brahman? As Pujya Swami said, what is the Ishvara? Or the Upanishad says, what is this Brahman? Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma. Idam Sarvam Brahma. All of this indeed is Brahman. Whatever it is Brahman. Isha Vasam Idam Sarvam Yat Kenchit. Whatever it is Brahman, is manifestation of Brahman. Brahman manifesting in these names and forms. What is Brahman? Asti Bhati Priyam. And Asti Bhati Priyam, Satyam Jnanantam Brahma alone manifests itself through various names and forms. That's called creation. So name and form becomes like a costume, like a vehicle for manifestation of Asti Bhati Priyam. See, Asti Bhati Priyam or Brahman by itself cannot be experienced by us because the very self cannot be experienced. The name and form also cannot be experienced by itself because it doesn't have existence of its own. When there is union of these two, Asti Bhati Priyam and name and form, then they become the object of experience. The Asti Bhati Priyam is experienced when associated with name and form name and form is experienced when associated with Asti Bhati Priyam. So what we have, this whole world, Upanishad says, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, all this is Brahma, all names and forms manifest Brahma alone. So what is the manifestation of Brahma? Brahman has become the object of our experience. We are experiencing. So what we are experiencing is Brahman. Although to us perhaps what we are experiencing are names and forms. Because names and forms alone can be experienced by sense organs and mind, true. The mind and the sense organs only have reached up to name and form. And usually a person thinks that is what it is, that's the ultimate reality. But names and forms do not enjoy reality of their own. They enjoy a reality, a tangibility, a usefulness, an existence. because of Asti Bhati Priyam. Brahman which is Asti Bhati Priyam or Satyam Jnanantam. It provides Asti to name and form, therefore names and forms enjoy existence. Provides Bhati to name and form, therefore names and forms shine in our consciousness. Priyam provides usefulness, makes everything potentially a source of happiness. That's because of Brahman. The name and form is because Brahman is. The name and form shines in my awareness because Brahman shines in my awareness. And name and form gives me happiness because Brahman gives me happiness. That Brahman again is not separate from me. Ekameva dvitiyam, in fact, that Brahman is my own self. So you can say that Brahman shines the universe, or the self, Pratyekatma, shines the universe. That is what is said by the Mahavakya, Tattvamasi, that thou art. Now you, who is Pratyekatma, the innermost self, is Brahman, non-dual Brahman, that's what you are. So what is Brahman, what is Ishvara, what is self? This is the reality that Vedanta reveals. So you can say that the knowledge is the self is actionless. It also means the self is Brahman. Asti Bhati Priyam Satchit Ananda. And what is also is Brahman, because what is manifestation of Satchit Ananda. It's all Ananda that manifests. The Upanishad says, Ananda devakal vimani bhutani jayante anandena jatani jivanti anandam prayanti avisam vishanti. Sir, all bhutani, imani bhutani, all these beings, the sentient, insentient, all of these are born of Ananda. They remain in Ananda. They always travel towards Ananda. They merge into Ananda. They are manifestation of Ananda. Or Sadeva Swamye Idamagrasit Aitadatma Vidam Sarvam. That is all born of Sat, and Sat is the Atma of all of this. Sometimes called it Ananda, sometimes called Sat. Atmava, idamake vagrase, all of this was Atma, so all of this was Sat before its creation, all of this was Atma before its creation, Ananda, sometimes Sat, sometimes Chit, sometimes Ananda. So what is that alone? And that is the self. That's the reality. The wise person knows this reality, knows himself as nothing but Asti Bhati Priyam. There is no action in Asti Bhati Priyam. In being there is no action. In shining there is no action. In fullness there is no action. Understand? Asti means just being. Being doesn't require anything to be. There is no action involved in being. No action involved in shining, because to be is my nature, to shine is my nature. No action involved in Purnatvam, fullness or Ananda, because that's the nature. That's the reason why the self is actionless. For being, for shining, for fullness, that being the very nature doesn't require any action for that to be, and therefore when I see myself as just being Sat, self-shining Chit, self-sufficient Ananda, there is no action involved there. So when I see therefore I see myself as actionless. So actionless means Satchidananda, means Asti Bhati Priyam. So I am Asti Bhati Priyam, and what is nothing but the manifestation of Asti Bhati Priyam. So this is also the vision of a wise person. When the wise person sees the actionless self in the action, means sees himself as Satchidananda, sees everything as Satchidananda, as his own self, manifestation of Brahman. So that vision of the wise person is described in this verse. Lord Krishna, in fact, describes his vision in the context of yajna. Because yajna is the most exalted contribution of Vedas. Vedas, in fact, all center around yajna. That's the main theme of the Vedas. And therefore, yajna is the most exalted thing. And therefore, to praise this knowledge, Lord Krishna now wants to praise the knowledge. And the knowledge can be praised in many ways. Here, the knowledge is praised by comparing it with yajna. Because yajna, or a sacrificial ritual, a ritual performed as an offering to devatas in the Vedas, that is a very auspicious and very exalted thing. And therefore, by equating the knowledge with yajna, Lord Krishna is saying that the knowledge also is most exalted. So, Brahma Jnanam is praised here by equating it with yajna. Yajna is not praised. It is the Brahma Jnanam, the self-knowledge, that is praised by equating it with yajna. So what is the yajna? Yajna is, we are very familiar with yajna. It translates sacrificial ritual. Typically, there is a Vedi in which the fire is kindled and offerings are made into fire by invoking the devatas. So what is yajna basically is making an offering to the devata. So devata is the recipient. Although physically it may appear that you are throwing something in the fire. You saw many people look upon yajna as just throwing things in fire and turning into ashes and wasting things. What are you doing? Here I am not here to in any way promote yajna or anything, but then that is not the thing here. We are not wasting things, we are not burning them. We are offering them to the devata. Well, devatas are different manifestations of Ishvara. Vedic times, the devatas were, Indra was devata, Varuna was devata, Vayu was devata, Prajapati was devata, Aditya was devata. All manifestations of Ishvara. Chandrama manaso jataha, Chaksho suryo ajayata, Mukhadindascha agnischa, Pranad vayurjayata. So, Chandrama is a devata, the mind of Ishvara. Surya is the chakshu, the eyes of Ishvara. Fire is the very mouth of Ishvara. Brahmana also, Indra also is mouth of Ishvara. The wind is the very breath of Ishvara. And therefore these are all manifested Ishvara, limbs of Ishvara, anga of Ishvara, they are all devatas. Ishvara manifesting in all these different forms. So making an offering to these devatas is making offering to Ishvara. So yajna vai Vishnu, yajna means performance of a ceremony where Vishnu is appeased, Ishvara is appeased. So this was a Vedic way of worshipping. Times of Veda, there were no temples as best as I know, and there were no murtis or forms. And still the human being wants to satisfy and please Ishvara, and he sees the whole universe and he looks upon that as manifestation of Ishvara, and all the different devatas are there, so different devatas are propitiated. So that's what the third chapter also describes. Devan bhavayatanena te devaha bhavayantuvaha. Sayajna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam. So yajna was created along with human beings, and Prajapati said that may you perform the yajna and may you prosper. May that become a wish-fulfilling cow for you. With the yajna performed with desire may attain the material prosperity, and same yajna performed without desire may become the means for you to attain the ultimate prosperity, moksha. So yajna is the holiest thing in the Vedas, and it is an act of propitiating devatas. So in fire, so you kindle the fire and invoke the devata by reciting mantras and make an offering to the devata. Indraya swaha, Prajapate swaha, Agne swaha, Adityaya swaha. Swaha is a mantra that, when you offer to devatas. So this ritual, this setup is taken here to describe the vision of the wise person. What is this vision? Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. What is all Brahman? So rather than saying what is this Brahman, Lord Krishna says that what is involved in yajna is Brahman. Lord Krishna could have easily said, what is this Brahman? That's the vision of wise person. But here Lord Krishna says the whole yajna is Brahman for the wise person for equating the vision, the Brahma Jnana with yajna to praise that thing. Any action requires what we call the karakas or accessories. We know that in grammar, in Sanskrit grammar, there are 8 cases. First case is called karta, the doer. Second case is karma, the object of performing action. Not karma doesn't mean action here. Karma is the object upon which action is performed. Karanam is the means of performing action. Third case. Karma is the accusative case. Karanam, the instrumental case, instrument. Fourth is the sampradhanam. To whom the thing is offered, in this case devata, the sampradhanam, the recipients of the result of the action. That's the fourth case. Indraya swaha, Agnaya swaha. Fifth case of apadana case, that shows movement from one thing to the other, one place to the other. And the seventh case is called adhikaranam, the locus where the action is performed. So these 6 cases, the 6th case is not involved in any action because it is only sambandha shashti. It only reveals the sambandha or the relationship. But rest of the cases called karakas, the means or accessories of accomplishing an action is called karaka. And karta, karma, karanam, sampradhanam, apadhanam, adhikaranam. They are called karakas. An action can be performed only when all the karakas are involved. Many accessories are visible, there may be also accessories not visible. So here Lord Krishna describes all these karakas which are involved in typically performance of a yajna. There are two words, yaga and homa. Devatodeshena dravyatyagaha yagaha. So parting with the material. See, when you while performing ritual, you set aside that this is all the material which will be offered to the devata. You set aside. So Yajman, the sponsor, called Yajman, the sponsor, he in fact gives away this material for offering to devata. That's called tyaga. So he is the one who parts with the thing. So Yajmana performs the act of tyaga, of parting with or giving away this material, the dravya, which with the yajna will perform. So that act on the part of Yajmana of parting with, transferring ownership from himself to the devata, this is now meant for devata. Is no more belongs to me, belongs to devata. That act on the part of Yajmana or sponsor is called yaga. Devatodeshena, keeping devata in mind, dravya tyagaha, parting with the dravya or material is called yaga. This is the technical definition. And then, saiva Tyajyamanasya agnau prakshepad homa, that very thing, that very dravya, that when it is offered into fire, indraya swaha, that act is done by a priest. So tyaga takes place in two stages. This is just for general information. First, tyaga takes place on the part of Yajmana, the sponsor, who really makes this all material available for the devatas for performance of yaga or yajna. An actual offering to devatas is done by a priest, by Rutvik, by an advaryu. Said, Indraya swaha, Prajapate swaha. So that act of pouring that same dravya into fire is called homa. Yaga and homa, just a technical difference, although we don't necessarily distinguish yaga and homa in our own mind, but technically this is the difference. But why am I saying all this? Because tyaga is involved in two stages, that is why I am saying this. If tyaga means giving away, first giving away is on the part of Yajman, the sponsor, second giving away is on the part of the priest or Ritvik or the advaryu. So, yaga and homa, yaj. Yaj means also to worship. Deva puja, sangadikaranam. So, it involves devata, it involves puja, worship. It involves assembling many people, many learned people, etc. So, that is the reason, the meaning of the root yaj, from which the word yaga is derived. Homa is derived from the root hu, means to give up, give. Dana adana yoho, giving, taking is called hu. So homa is giving. So this is how yaga and homa is the act which can be accomplished by all these karaka, or accessories. So who is the karaka? The karta. So two kartas are involved. Yajman is first karta who performs the act of tyaga, yaga. Second karta is a priest who actually pours it, performs the act of homa. So karta. Karma. What is offered is called karma. So the dravya such as ajyam or ghee which is offered in the fire is called karma. Havihi, havish. Or oblation. How it is offered? With what it is offered? The priest typically has a ladle, a wooden spoon, with which he takes a part of this ghee, such as an example. It may be any other material. It can be milk also, it can be curd also, it can be other material. Sometimes with hand also solid materials are offered, such as sesame, etc. But you always require a means of offering, like ladle, with which you offer. So that is called arpanam. Arpyate anena iti arpanam. That by which something is offered is called arpanam. That's the instrumental case. For sampradanam, Indraya Swaha, the Devata to whom it is offered is called sampradanam. So arpyate anena is the ladle, and that act of arpanam is done for whom is Devata, that also can be included here in arpanam, sampradanam. Yasmai arpyate. Yasmad arpyate, from this place to this place offered. Yatra arpyate, where it is offered in Agni, which is the adhikaranam. Agnam, seventh case. So all these karakas or accessories are required for accomplishing the act of yajna. So here Lord Krishna describes the vision of the wise person. What is the vision? Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. What is Brahman. So with reference to yajna, what is all these karakas, There is karta, there is karma, there is karanam, there is samprasadam, there is sampradanam, there is apadanam, and there is adhikaranam. So wise persons this concept of all. Sarvamidam, all of this with reference to yajna, this will be all, that includes everything. Then also you can say mantras, that also can be included in the karanam, because with which you offer to devatas, the mantras are also included. In fact, Desha, Kala, Ishvara, all of them are also required. The space is required, time is required, Ishvara is required, devatas are required. All of this can be included as also in the adhikaranam. Meaning that in all this you can include everything that you see and then what is required for accomplishing, seen and unseen, whatever is required to accomplish this yajna is all included in accessories. And the Gramyanis will explain everything, by different derivations. All of this is seen as Brahman. So Lord Krishna says Brahma Arpanam. Arpanam. But an ordinary person sees arpanam means of offering. Arpede anena iti arpanam. Like a chamas, like a ladle with which you make an offering. So to an ordinary person, that object is arpanam, a ladle, a wooden spoon. For the wise person, it is Brahman. Brahman alone is ladle. Brahman alone manifests as ladle. So what does it mean? Does it mean that he does not see ladle? He doesn't see any spoon? No, he sees that. Because the sense organs only will reveal names and forms. That's two things are there. The name and form is there, and Astivadi Prem also is there. We see only name and form and fail to see Astivadi Prem. That's the only difference between the wise and otherwise person. Whether a person is wise or not, all the five are involved, because name and form cannot be unless Astivadi Prem is there. But since we take name and form as a reality, we fail to appreciate that Astivadi Prem is what in fact provides the existence and satta, sfurti to that name and form. So that is called wisdom, where you see that the reality is Astivadi Priyam. Namarupa is not the reality. What's the reality? Astivadi Priyam. Satyam Jnanandam. Sachit Ananda. And that's a self, understand? So, therefore, the wise person has his viveka, discrimination, The name and form belong to one reality, which is what you perceive or objectify. The same time, there is Asti Bhadi as a very Pratyekatma, as a very self. So, wise person appreciates both of these simultaneously. He appreciates Brahman in the very self, manifesting in the name and form. So, what is Arpanam? What is the ladle? A name and form, which is the means of manifestation of Brahman, the self, Asti Bhadi Priyam. So, wise person also appreciates the ladle as we do. But whereas we may fail to appreciate the fact that it reveals Asti Bhadi Priyam also, he does not miss that fact. He sees Asti Bhadi as his own self. So either he says Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma, or all of this is Atma alone. Brahma Arpanam. Arpanam, that ladle is an example. It is nothing but Brahman. Brahma Havihi. Havish means a dravya, or the material that is offered, oblation, such as ghee or clarified butter, which is poured in the. So, what is Havihi? What is oblation? What is the material offered? It can be ghee, it can be milk, it can be curd, it can be sesame, it can be any number of dravyas. Payasam, all kinds of things are there. Depending on devatas, different devatas are different, you offer different materials to different devatas. To Ganapati you offer modaka. To Devi you offer payasam. To Lord Vishnu you offer black sesame, and so forth. Whatever that havish is, whatever that oblation is, wise person appreciates that, of course, with his sense organs, but appreciates that is simply the medium of manifestation of Brahman, the self, Asti Bhadi Priyam. Brahma Havihi. Brahman alone is Havihi. Brahman alone is the oblation, the material that is being offered. Brahma Agnau, seventh case. Agnau, Adhikaranam, Adhikarana Saptami. Where it is offered. Where is the seventh case? Agni, fire. So fire, where or into which all this offering is made, also is Brahman. Brahmagnau. That is samasa, by the way. Brahma Arpanam are two words. Brahma Arpanam. Brahma Havihi, two words. Brahma is Havihi. Brahmagnau, Brahman, that is Agni. That's a samasa. Brahma eva Agni, meaning that he says Agni, the fire where offerings are made, also is Brahman. Brahmana, Hutam, Brahmana, by Brahman. This is actually, by Brahman it is said Hutam. So this third case is Karmani, therefore actually it only reveals Karta. One by whom the offering is made. Meaning the offerer also is Brahman, Brahmana, Hutam. The Hutam, what is the offering also is Brahmana, is made by Brahman. Meaning that one who makes the offering also is Brahman. The offerer also is Brahman. The Yajamana is his offerer is Brahman. The Rutvik also is Brahman. Hutam, the act of offering, the whole act, also the Kriya also is Brahman. So Karakas also are Brahman and Kriya also is Brahman. Brahmana Hutam also is Brahman. So although Brahmana Hutam means offered by Brahman, but say offerer also is Brahman and Hutam also is Brahman. That's how the verse is explained. So Karakas or all accessories are Brahman. Hutam, the Kriya, the act of offering also is Brahman. So Brahmana, Karaka, the Karta also is Brahman. Havihi, Karma also is Brahman. Arpanam, Karanam also is Brahman. And you understand Devata to whom is offered also is Brahman. That also can be included as Arpanam. To whom the offering is made. Agni Adhikaran also is Brahman. And the movement also is Brahman, Kriya also is Brahman. So Karaka and Kriya are all Brahman. Second line says, Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. Gantavyam. The goal to be achieved. Mindi karma phala. So usually a yajna may be performed for attaining Swarga, let us say. Either something in this world or the other world. So let's say Swarga is the purpose of performing this yajna. Then Swarga or heaven is Gantavyam. So that which is to be achieved. If the karma is performed with desire, then Swarga is to be achieved. Karma is performed without desire, then it may become the indirect means of moksha also. So moksha also can be Gantavya. So Gantavya includes both Abhyudaya and Nishreyasa. The material prosperity, worldly prosperity or spiritual prosperity, that also is Brahman. Gantavyam, karma phala also is Brahman. So now you see, the Karaka, the Kriya, Karaka and Phala. Three things are involved. Kriya, the very act of performing yaga or yajna. Karaka, the various accessories involved in accomplishing that action of karma yajna. And karma phala, gantavyam, the phala that you achieve, that describes everything. The whole universe is nothing but this kriya, karaka, phala. That includes the whole universe. Because the universe is karma phala. That karma performed by all the various jivas, the sum total of the result of the karma performed all the jivas, this is universe, is karma phala. The jivas are all what? They perform the karma. And so karma, kriya, karaka and phala, that describes the whole samsara. And all of that is Brahman for the wise person. But in the context of yajna, the kriya, karaka, phala is what is involved in accomplishing yajna. The various accessories, the kriya, the karaka are involved. The kriya, the act of yajna, and karma phala, whether it is swarga or moksha. All of this is Brahman. Brahma karma sama brahmaiva tena gantavyam. So by the one who sees all of this as Brahman, the example that Bhashyakara gives is the Shuktika Rajatam. What is a Shuktika or a shell? And an ignorant person may see that as silver. But when you then realize that what I thought was silver is really nothing but Shuktika, similarly all of these names and forms, all of these are projections, and what is there as a substratum is nothing but Brahman, the very self. Brahmaiva tena gantavyam. The gantavyam, karma phala also is Brahma alone. Brahma karma samadhina. So, again, Brahma karma samadhina, hutam. All this havan takes place by Brahma karma samadhina. Brahmana hutam. Brahma karma samadhina hutam. Who is the one performing this whole homa or the Brahma karma samadhi? Explains here that Brahma itself is karma. And samadhi is total concentration of focus. Meaning the one whose mind is totally focused upon seeing the whole karma as Brahman. For whom Brahman alone is karma. In whose mind or perception, what is Brahma is called Brahma karma samadhi. Who sees karma as Brahman, who sees everything as Brahman. So while performing this action, suppose a wise person performs the action, yajnaya acharatah karma. See, earlier verse said, yajnaya acharatah karma samagram praviliyate. Then we said that yajna can mean an action performed in the spirit of yajna or self-offering. Well, yajna can also mean an act of yajna or the sacrificial ritual. So if a wise person such as King Janaka performed this yajna, then what is his vision? What is Brahman? Samagram praviliyate, that karma, Brahma karma samadhina. One whose samadhi, one whose mind is only focused upon Brahman. Because for him the arpanam also is Brahman, Havihi also is Brahman, Agni also is Brahman, the act also is Brahman, the offerer also is Brahman, the outcome also is Brahman. That's called Brahma Karma Samadhi, who sees everything as Brahman. For a wise person, the karma phala also is Brahman. Therefore, there is no separate existence of karma apart from Brahman. No separate existence of karma phala apart from Brahman. Nothing is existence separate from Brahman. What is Brahman? Therefore, the karma was not there to begin with. There is no question of destroying something which was there. It's not that the karma which was there becomes destroyed, although it is said, Samagram praviliyate, the whole karma becomes destroyed. No, it was not there to begin with. What was there was Brahman. And what remains is Brahman. So nothing was created, nothing is destroyed as far as the wise person is concerned. But this is said this way, that his action does not produce result. It is from the standpoint of the onlookers. So Bhashyakara explains that the reason for this verse is to extol Brahma Jnanam, to extol the knowledge by equating this knowledge with yajna. Because yajna is already accepted as most exalted. And by equating jnanam, Brahma Jnana with yajna, Brahma Jnana also is here extolled, is praised. Then we will come to this discussion also, why do we chant this verse, Swamiji, before commencing meals? Brahma Arpanam, Brahmavi, Brahmagno. A common question. And why do we chant 15 chapters, Swamiji, before beginning meals? So, that also can be explained in the context of this verse. A few verses of 15th chapter are relevant in this context. Well, Lord Krishna says, Pushnami chas ausadihi somo bhutva rasatmakaha Pushnami chausadi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. In the 15th chapter, in the verses 12 to 15, those 4 verses, Lord Krishna describes how He alone is in all the vyavahara, in all the transactions that take place. He is the very basis of everything. Here, Arjuna, the light that you see in the sun and the moon and fire, know it to be my light. Meaning that it's because of I who shine the sun and moon and fire. Oh, they shine because of me. And I make all that possible. Gama Vishajbhutani Dharaya. I enter the earth and sustain. By my energy, I sustain or uphold the whole universe. Placing things that where they are is because I uphold them. Pushnami chausadi sarvaha somo bhutva rasatmakaha. Have become rasatmaka somaha. So means moon, supposed to be embodiment of rasa. It imparts rasa, the very taste and the very nourishment to the oshadis or to the plants and vegetables or herbs, and they become our food. So Lord Krishna says, I am the soma, rasatmaka soma, the embodiment of rasa, embodiment of taste, embodiment of juice, sap, nourishment. Meaning, that is how I become the oshadi, the herbs, the plants, vegetables, your food. So I am in front of you in the form of your food. That's what Lord Krishna says. I am the soma. That's the rasa. And that's the oshadis. And that's the food. So Lord Krishna says there in 15th chapter that I am in manifest as your food in your plate. And then also says that I am the very consumer of food. Aham Vaishvanaro Bhutva Prayanam Dehamashina. I am the very digestive fire who digests the food that is offered. So, supposedly there is fire in our stomach called Vaishvanara or digestive fire, Vaishvanara Bhutva, becoming digestive fire. I digest all kinds of food. So Lord Krishna says, food I am, Soma transforms as food. So Ishvara is Soma, transforms as food, and therefore food is nothing but the manifestation of Ishvara. Ishvara alone manifests as the very digestive fire. The fire also is Ishvara. And Lord Krishna says that I am the one who is the self of all. Sarvasya chaham rudhi sannivishtaha. Aham sarvasya rudhi sannivishtaha. I have entered the heart of all the beings. That means that I am the very self of all the beings. Which means the one who is eating also I am. So eater also is Brahman, Ishvara. What is eaten also is Ishvara, Brahman. And the fire where all is offered also is Brahman. So now we can look upon this whole process of eating food, bhojanam, as a very yajna. So we saw that what is yajna? Offering oblation into the fire, keeping in mind the devata to whom it is offered. So all that setup is available now, exists in this act of the eating the food, bhojanam, where the food is Brahman, the fire is Brahman, and the eater also is Brahman, because self of all is Brahman, digestive fire also is Brahman, the food also is Brahman. So what do? We take a morsel of food in our fingers, put it in the mouth, masticate it, it goes to stomach, where it is digested. And so we can imagine or visualize or have the bhavana, we can have this attitude that I am taking a morsel of food which is like the Havihi oblation. What is offered to fire is Havihi oblation. Fire is right here, digestive fire. So this morsel of food that I take and put in my mouth is equivalent to offering oblation to the fire. The food, of course, is Brahman. So Brahma Havihi, Havish is Brahman. Brahmagana, the Agni to which the food is offered is also is Brahman. Brahmana Hutam, the one who offers all of this, eater, also is Brahman, because the Lord alone has entered the hearts of all and he is the self of all. Brahmarpanam. We take this morsel of food with the fingers. Now, when the food is consumed by us, that food gets transformed as a very nourishment, energy, rasa, as Ayurveda will explain. And that pervades the entire body, and that's how the whole body is called Anna-rasa. Is nothing but modification of, it's Annamaya Kosha, Annamaya, or Anna-rasa, modification of Anna-rasa. So this body is nothing but manifestation of food really. The food, Anna becomes rasa, and rasa becomes his body. So if food is Brahman, then Anna rasa also is Brahman. So body also is Brahman. Therefore the fingers with which I take the food also is Brahman. So Arpanam, I take the food with my fingers and offer it, so this fingers also is nothing but Brahman, because it's modification of food. So Brahma Arpanam, the Arpanam also is Brahman. Brahma Havihi, Havish or the morsel of food also is Brahman. Brahmagrau, Agni, digestive fire offered also is Brahman. Brahmanahutam, the one who is offering this, eating also is Brahman. Brahma karma, this is a vision that one has while even eating the food. Then that process of eating itself becomes a yajna, becomes an act of worship, becomes a means of meditation on Brahman. If you can do that, Brahma karma samadhina, Brahma yutena gantavyam, then gantavyam, the result also is Brahman alone. And therefore, this verse or this mantra is chanted before taking the meal. And then of course we circumambulate the food with water, sip that. That's a different thing. There was sanctifying the food and taking a sip of water stands for prana, because water and prana are the one. And that is providing the prana. Prana also is water, is also cloth of the garment. So garment, the food is given garment before eating and after eating. So before eating we say, so Amrutopastaranamasi, Amrutam, the ambrosia as water is offered. Amruta apidhanamasi, then you cover with Amrutam also. Now that's a different matter. But just for information, this is what a Brahmana chants. Amrutopastaranamasi. And then Amruta apidhanamasi. And before that also they take morsels, the pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha, vyanaya swaha, udaya swaha, samanaya swaha, brahmanaya swaha, or pranaya swaha, apanaya swaha. So whole process is made a religious or a process, or a spiritual process if you want. What makes it religious, spiritual is the perception, is the vision or the attitude that we have. And therefore, to transform this act of eating to an act of worship or an action of yajna as a means of meditation or contemplation upon Brahman is ideally the purpose of reciting this verse before eating the meals and chanting 15th chapter, because there are those verses where Lord Krishna says, I am the very food, I am the very digestive fire, I am the one who offers. And that's how different karakas, accessories, Lord Krishna described all these karakas, his own self, with his 4th verses. And that is how we can say that what is Brahman, what is Ishvara. And with that vision of whatever we can think of, while eating the food, but then that process can be transformed into a spiritual process. Or in 15th chapter we see, Shankaracharya also says that Lord Krishna says, I am digestive fire called Agni, I am. The food is called Soma, what is consumed, Soma, food also I am. So consumer Agni also is Ishvara. Consume the food, Soma also is Ishvara. And one who has this vision in mind, when that person eats the food, all the dosha, the defect that may possibly involve the food also, they do not affect this person. So all of that is involved in chanting 15th chapter and this verse 24th for the 4th chapter before eating the meals. Om. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om शांति शांति शांति। शंकरं शंकराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम।